What do we think about the Trump accounts? What are they, and what do we think about them?
So every baby that is born in the United States gets $1,000 automatically in an investment account.
What are 5 common mistakes or myths that you see around money?
Oh, I love this question. The first one is that the stock market is like gambling. If you have a plan,
that's what we're fighting for. From Cali to the coast, every worker has a story. Big companies push, but we push back harder. Don't worry. Clocked in, clocked out, still carrying.
Welcome to Rep the Worker podcast. It's a show about how we work, adapt, and grow. We are with the Queen of Finance.
What a nice title. I'm so flattered.
Roxana Maddahi. She goes by Roxy.
Yes.
Or what do you prefer?
You could say Roxy.
Okay.
Jay, I'm so glad to be here. Before I say anything, I just wanted to share that I am not giving any personalized investment advice here. This is, everyone should consult their own experts or their own selves, do their own research, but this is just like general blanket information, nothing personal.
Educational.
Educational.
Okay, so I would be remiss, this is a word my dad used to use all the time, I would be remiss if I did not mention that although you have helped me with my finances, there's one reason why I cannot repay you with money, and it's a priceless thing that you did for me that I can never repay you for, which is you introduced me, or you...
I'll take money, by the way.
Yeah.
I will take money.
Yes, and you deserve it, but you set me up with the greatest gift you ever could have given me, which is my wife. So I appreciate you, and that is the context for which I view you as.
Thank you.
But honestly, my wife and I both, like, you are one of those people when we think about as just the combination. My dad used to call it a 5-tool player in baseball, like somebody who can do all the different things. And you are that person. You're an incredible mother and like a legit boss woman. And so there's nobody who I can imagine who I'd want to talk to our audience who are just hardworking Californians, everything from C-level executives, entrepreneurs to fast food workers and everything in between. And we have a lot of women that we represent, a lot of single mothers, a lot of people who have faced pregnancy discrimination, a lot of people who have faced sexual harassment. And then there's just the general concept of like money in general, like even people that have money that do well struggle with what to do. And you are, to me, you are the go-to person in my world for finances. And so I guess maybe just for people that don't know you, why are you credible on the topic of finances? I know
Sure.
you're not somebody to like boast for yourself, but you have to do it.
I appreciate the introduction a lot. The reason that I would say I am credible is that I've been doing this for so long. I studied finance in college and business economics. And then my first job was actually, and I consider this like my official like master's degree in finance. My first job was at Lehman Brothers, which was at the time, I don't know how many of you are our age or younger, but for those younger, you probably don't remember Lehman Brothers. For those my age and older, you probably do, but it was the biggest investment bank at the time. And this was 2007 when I was hired by them.
What a time.
It was a real time to be working in New York, Wall Street, specifically at that company, because they actually filed for the biggest bankruptcy in history. And they also catapulted the 2008 recession. So it really started.
Thank you, Roxy.
It really started with Lehman Brothers. And so I had this first row seat to what could actually really, really go wrong when people are greedy and when people lie. And when the only thing really like that high level executives are worried about is their stock price and is their the way that they're viewed on CNBC and on like through media. So I really saw what that did, and I saw what it did to the Lehman employees, and worse, I saw what it did to the clients. And so watching that really molded me as a person, shaped the way that I think about investing. And I realized people really, really need good investing advice. And I have spent the rest of my career since then learning from really phenomenal investors and learning about like the appropriateness of investing, because everybody's different. Everybody has different needs when it comes to investing.
Yeah.
And so I've been studying that for I don't know, 17, 18 years now.
How much, like some of the big sort of things you're supposed to stay away from, you're told when you're growing up is, finances, religion, politics. And so how much is like the stigma of talking about money have you experienced with people that, again, really wealthy people to people that don't have a lot of money? Like how much has that stigma of talking about finances, do you think, got in the way?
Oh, I think it's like one of our biggest problems in our society is that most people don't know about money. There's a small group of people that do, and usually those are people that are taught about money by their parents. And then there are the 17 states in the US where they actually have a personal finance class. Assuming that is effective, maybe in those states they have a little bit better understanding of personal finance. But like, other than that, it's not really like most of the time, it's not dinner table conversation and it's not conversation between friend groups. And so it just becomes this topic that's like, I think a lot of people get insecure that they don't know about finances, that they don't know about investing. And I think a lot of people get just like uncomfortable talking about it, especially women.
Yeah. And I think that a lot of people just assume that, especially if you didn't grow up with wealth, that like, it's just not for me. Like, I just basically need to work and I need to pay for things, and whatever I can sort of pay for, I can do. But like, I guess for us, we experience the financial concerns of clients so often. So we have everything from clients who are being like serially sexually harassed at a job, and they're a single mom and they literally feel like they can't leave because they got to pay for their kids' next meal. We have people that are being retaliated against, and they have the, I call it kind of like a limiting belief or a scarcity mindset to say like, I cannot afford to leave this place. How would you speak to the worker who feels like they're in a toxic situation? They know it's like an unhealthy marriage, an unhealthy relationship with their employer, but they just sort of blindly think, I can't afford to leave. Like what would you say to that person?
I think there are a few things. First of all, thankfully, if we're talking about in the United States, we live in a country where there are a lot of jobs. You can find another job, and you need to feel like you deserve to find another job. But more than that, I think that the only thing that's going to financially set you free, where you can make decisions around like, and when I say financially free, I don't mean like you can now just retire. What I mean is that you have flexibility in the decisions you make, and you're not just fighting for survival, is really having that discipline to save and to invest. Because the truth is that we're not where we were even 30 years ago, where you can go and work at a job, come home, and that's going to pay all of your bills. It's just not reality anymore. One of the big economists last week came out saying that the poverty line is now at $140,000 for a family of four in terms of income.
Insane.
And that's not actually that's not the official line. The official line is something like 36,000 or something in income. But what he was arguing was that you really can't afford to be part of society in a meaningful way if you're making less than that as a family of four. And that's not even like in the big cities. Like we're in Los Angeles, it's completely different, like even more demands and even more expenses. But like in most of the country, you're really not living that comfortably when that's your income. Yeah. Unfortunately.
And especially like in LA or California,
Look, even now, like doctors and lawyers, if they're not having their money work for them, you're just not going to be able to get to where you want to be financially.
For anybody who doesn't believe that, we know a lot of doctors and lawyers, and most doctors and lawyers are not living anywhere near the lifestyle that you think they're living. And if they are living it, a lot of times they're living it in debt,
or because they've made different types of decisions, because they've taken money early on and they've been able to invest it. Perhaps because they were lucky enough to have parents that paid for their entire med school and they weren't stuck in $700,000 of medical school debt. So I think that it's a combination of those things, but also, yes, could be just debt.
But rather than look at it as like there are people that have because sure, there are tons of people, and we know a lot of them that, have inherited a lot of wealth, and there's, but in terms
That's not
of
the majority.
that's
though.
not the
It's a very
majority.
small minority.
How
Most millionaires in this country actually made it themselves.
Is that true?
Yeah.
That's an amazing fact. That's an amazing fact and a surprising fact to probably a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
How do you, just as a baseline, save and invest?
I think the best thing is having a process. So having a situation that doesn't feel intimidating, that isn't going to change your lifestyle dramatically. I think that's one way. So for instance, like let's say $50 per paycheck.
Mhm.
So $50 twice a month. It's not a huge amount of money, but it gets you into a process where you set up automatic movement into like a investment account.
Yeah.
And that sets you up in a way where you now have a process, you now have a discipline, and you set it up to be automatically invested. And so every time money hits that account, you're growing.
Okay.
I think that's one way. The other way, and I actually think this is a better way, is finding something that you can reduce in your life and using that money to put towards investing. So for instance, like if you're a married couple and you have 2 cars, maybe consider having one. It cuts down not just your lease payments or your financing payments, but also your insurance, and also
There's so
a lot of like, getting your tires fixed and like
tickets, parking.
all of those things. So
I know, by the way, I know a lot of people, including people that we know that do well and that do this. They have one car.
Yeah. And that's, that might be like more, again, like more of like a California thing.
Yeah.
But where you can like get away with that, because we have Uber and because there are like so many other options. But I think you need to look at it as like, okay, should I send maybe the solution, again, in California is sending your kids to public school rather than sending them to private school. And so making a big decision that's going to change your finances, because the truth is that like, as much as small amounts of money and good habits can help, the real way that things are going to help is when you make big changes and big decisions.
Okay, so the buckets of saving, just for the person who is maybe just having the possibility of saving, how do you literally do it? How do you actually practically take money out of your account? You're a barista at Starbucks, or you're a C-level executive, and somehow you've never saved a penny before. You don't know how to do it. You don't know what mechanism to use, or vehicle, or financial facility to go to. Like, what do you do?
So the first thing is you open a checking account, which probably if you're getting paid, you have that anyway set up. And then you can actually set up automatic transfers into either a savings account or an investment account.
Okay.
I prefer an investment account. I think it just like requires a little bit more like savings. You can still access it. It's like a little bit like too easy to access almost. And like, I think you need to like force your savings. It needs to be uncomfortable. And like, I think in general, that's like, you can't really get anything good in this world unless you're uncomfortable, unless you're putting yourself in a place where you're like, wow, that hurts a little bit.
Very
just like going to the gym or just like having a kid. Like it's the highest highs of your life, but it's also like there are a lot of things that are really uncomfortable that you have to change in your life. And I think saving and investing is that same process of like, you have to be ready to deal with some level of discomfort. And so next step is to open up an investment account. You could do this at E-Trade or Charles Schwab, which is like what actually like my firm uses for our own clients. And open up your investment account, set up a plan. That's going to look different for every person depending on their like liquidity needs and their overall needs and how much they need this money. And then get that money invested automatically. So you can actually set it up so that the money comes into your account, you get paid, a certain amount goes into your investment account, and then that investment account is automatically invested.
How do you do it so there's a certain level where you make enough or you have enough saved where you can get an advisor like yourself. How do you go about doing this process that you're talking about before you have enough money to do that? And then after, so obviously once you have an investor like yourself, you're sort of guiding the way, what vehicles to use. when can you get to the level where you can have someone like you invest your money? Like, how much money do you have to have? And then what do you do before that? What do you do when you have 10,000, 15,000, 5,000, 50,000, 100,000?
Sure. And this is something that I've actually been like so obsessed with trying to find a solution for, because I think that most of the money in this country falls in the hands of just like a few people. And so like what does everybody else do? And that's a really good question. I'd say generally advisors take over the $500,000 level, but there are so many other options if you have less than that. And the best option, like the option that I like, are the robo advisors like Acorn or Betterment, Ellevest. So there are a bunch of different options of how you can like invest your money, and they'll actually like put it into buckets that are appropriate for you.
What about just like specific things like, education accounts, things like that? What do you buy into those? Do you think they make sense?
I love them. I
Why?
think that they're amazing. I like anything that helps you save on taxes and that also forces you to save. So education accounts, the way that they work is that they're called 529 accounts. You can open these accounts like on your computer. You don't need to go to an advisor. They're no cost. And you could use any of the different 529 plans. Like they have like each state has their own plan. You can use any state, but like I guess just.
And those, I think you just sort of set like a type of investment strategy. And then once you put the money in there, it kind of just does it. Yeah.
And what's great about these plans is that any growth in the account is not taxable. So normally when you have growth on a stock, you have to pay taxes on the money that you've gained. Whereas with these 529 investment accounts, you don't have to pay taxes on those. The caveat is that you have to use this money for education. They have made like some exceptions. You could, if you don't wind up using it for education, then you can roll it into a retirement account for your child. But I think your best bet is to use it, is to go in with the intention of using it for education.
I have to take a brief detour to talk about mindset for a second, because like almost every improvement that I've made in my life, every aspect of my life has been on shifting my mindset, having a positive mindset, having a growth mindset, having all that stuff. I think what strikes me as I hear you talk is that you just have such a balanced, like, I guess, non-victim mentality, very strong, grounded perspective on like not just finances, but on life. Can you speak to your mindset a little bit in terms of like how you get to this place where you're a strong, confident person balancing both motherhood and like working and being a boss in your sort of field?
Thank you. First of all, I appreciate the compliments. I'm flattered. I don't think that it's like, it's not a perfect science, and I don't always feel like I'm doing such a great job at everything or anything. There are a lot of moments where I feel like because I work that my children don't get to see me as much, or because I have children that I don't get to work as much. So it's like, it's a constant balance. And I think that you need to have, like, for me, I have a level of grace with myself where I'm just like, it's okay. You don't need to be the financial advisor that's spending 12, 14 hours a day at your desk. Like, that's just not who you are, and that can't be who you are. And it actually, like, in my mind, I think that it actually like very much adds to my relationships with clients, because a lot of the things that they struggle with, I'm also struggling with. And that's that balance. But growth mindset, I think, is huge. Believing that if you work hard enough at something that it can come to you and that you're capable of it. And so I think that's actually like, I am working on a book about investing, and that's like my first chapter is like, have a growth mindset. You can do this. And I think that is the biggest thing that's preventing most people from investing. I don't think it's actually like that they don't have the capital. I think it's that they are too scared. They don't believe that this is something that is like, that they deserve, that is available to them. And so that's like, and I speak to people about that like at every income level. I'll speak to people at like really, really high income levels that are like, well, I never grew up around wealth, and like, I don't really feel like this is for me. And that's something that like, that needs to change if you want to actually like grow, have a bigger financial life, is you need to realize that you deserve this, that you have this amazing tool at your phone, at your computer that will help you grow and that will help you become wealthier without having to work for every dollar.
Yeah.
And that like at every level, you deserve to have access to this. Okay.
What do we think about the Trump accounts? What are they and what do we think about them?
I think they're amazing. They allow you to invest. So every baby that is born in the United States gets $1,000 automatically in an investment account. And you're able to add to, like your family is able to add to that or anyone's able to add to it on your behalf. And what is so amazing about it is it gives you this education around investing. It gives the parents an education around investing and the child when they get old enough, obviously, to understand.
Yep.
And so it allows you to really see real growth. And so I think that it actually helps you like, look, $1,000 isn't probably not going to change your life, but having exposure to investing and growth for your entire life and sharing that with your entire family, being able to see what this does is amazing. And I think can actually really like be this one of the steps to closing that gap between people that are ultra wealthy and people that are not.
Yeah.
Like, because really the biggest difference between the ultra wealthy and people that are not is that access to capital, being able to invest in.
And education. And so like the fact that you are like almost, it's like a springboard into, oh, I have this account. Like
you have to learn about it.
Yeah,
You have this account. You have to learn what it is.
Yeah, that's cool. Okay, you invest money for some extremely wealthy people. And what do you notice about how they made their money and how they continue to make money that the average worker in California can take from that?
I think they're willing to do things that other people are not. Most of my clients are willing to take risk when it comes to their, whatever it is that they specialize in. And they're willing to go all in. They're willing to become an expert at what they do. So for instance, I work with music producers. They have spent their whole lives learning how to create music and produce. They have stayed up all night and worked on these things. They have showed up for every session that they've been invited to. Like these are people that work really, really hard. I have yet to have a client that's like, oh, it just kind of happened for me. That doesn't like that. I don't think is.
They're doing something extraordinary.
Yeah. They're doing something that they're working really, really hard.
Yeah.
And they're working strategically.
Yep. You just came like this is another one that we have a lot with our clients. I have clients that have literally never had more than a few $100s or maybe a few $1,000s in their, accounts. And they come into a settlement of hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not more.
I love that you're getting that for them.
Yeah. We're doing the best we can. So what do you do? What do you do when you literally are going from check to check to now having hundreds of thousands, if not more, money to play with and to sort of like take your family to the next level?
So the first thing I think is like, don't tell anyone.
Yeah.
Like, just keep it quiet. Do not change your lifestyle. Like, obviously, if you change your, use this towards necessities, but don't change your lifestyle.
I love that.
Get used to it first. Just get used to knowing that you have that money. Because what happens when there's a lot of studies about people that when they have sudden wealth, it's very scary. It feels like this very big responsibility, and it is a big responsibility. It's kind of a lot of people get depressed, you see, and most people that have big, and you've seen the rumors around lottery winners, they lose that money very quickly because they don't feel like they earned it. They don't feel like they deserve it. You deserve this money. This was obviously a settlement that you deserve to win.
Yeah.
And so that's one thing is hold on to that mentality and just wait, save the money, invest it in a way that is responsible for you, make a financial plan, get a good team together, get a great accountant, a great financial advisor, and keep that, make sure you keep that group tight and close.
Yeah, I think that my dad used to say, my dad and his partner used to say, you take the worst fact, you take the worst event in your life and you turn it into the most positive. Mm-hmm. And I think that, we have people come to us, they're devastated and they really have these brutal situations, but like them getting fired or them getting taken advantage of, like that in itself, we don't want people to get victimized. But like when you're able to get compensated and you take that money and potentially change your family's like life, I think the hard part is, there is the tendency to like, okay, I have money, I'm going to go spend it. But like you really have this opportunity to like meaningfully change like your entire family's life by just not spending it in stupid ways and putting it into something.
You need to think about this as generational wealth.
Yeah.
Money that's going to change your family for generations, not just for right now, not just for today, and not just for like buying, things that you like not just like impulse purchases, but creating a situation where this money can really last you and last your children and last your children's children.
Yeah. Where like this is, I posted this on Instagram like a couple weeks ago because I just find it so fascinating the ways that really wealthy people are sometimes cheap and the way that really people that don't have a lot of money will spend ridiculous amounts of money on Disneyland. Have you seen any like just ridiculous mindsets of like billionaires or hundreds of millionaires that they're just cheap about stupid stuff?
100%.
Where give us something.
I think, look, especially people that made the money themselves, there are just they never feel like they're wealthy.
Yeah.
That's like one thing that like you could speak to a lot of people that are like incredibly wealthy, and they still kind of feel, now they're like surrounded by other very wealthy people. So they feel like, oh my God, this person has that, and they're constantly comparing themselves. They don't necessarily feel, no matter how much money they've made, that they are like incredibly wealthy.
Yeah.
That's something that's always really funny to me.
Yeah.
They'll never just be like, okay, so I lost money in this investment. Who cares?
Hey.
Never heard a person say that ever, at any level. But I've seen people at like all different levels get, obsessed with, for instance, like a wire fee. They have to wire money. It costs $25.
I hate a wire.
And they're like,
myself.
I can't pay that. Get rid of it.
Yeah.
Probably what made them wealthy in the first place is this obsessive feeling, is this obsessive like tendency to watch it and to be careful and not to waste.
And they will invest like $1 million into a high risk investment.
Yeah. Or not even just that. They will donate $1 million to a charity that they feel passionate about.
Right.
But $25 for a wire fee is unacceptable to them.
Okay. So just investment strategy. Sure. I think my general understanding of your investment strategy is never sell and hold. Am I wrong? What is what is it?
Okay, so I want to first give a disclaimer that I am a financial advisor. I am governed by the SEC.
Yes.
So I can't give any personalized investment advice. Everybody is different. Everybody's situation is different.
This is a
with that being said,
that disclaimer on here.
With that being said, Benjy, I'm going to give you my advice for your own life, knowing you very well.
Thank you.
Yes. My advice is that the stock market, like my view is that the stock market is so incredibly powerful. You have access to, for instance, if you buy the S&P 500, it's an index that represents the performance of the 500 biggest companies in the United States. You could just buy that on your computer with $50. Like, how amazing is that? You can be partners with Warren Buffett.
Right.
If you buy Berkshire Hathaway,
you could figure out what he owns, and you could own the same thing.
Yeah, or you could just buy a piece of his company.
Yeah,
I think that this is just an incredible thing that we all have access to. You don't need to be a millionaire or a billionaire to have access to these things, which is just like an amazing thing that we have.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yes, I think that the best case scenario is buy a portfolio of stocks that are appropriate for you. Hold them for as long as you can, hopefully until you die, so that this way you never have to pay taxes on it.
Yep.
That's not realistic for everybody. We all have different situations. Many people need their money to buy a house, or they need their money for other things. But if that can be your situation, I think that's an amazing way to build wealth for your children and for generations.
And in terms of so you think just in general, not being in the, unless you have an advisor who's doing this for you, not being in the stock picking game, just sort of get into a what is it, an ETF or a mutual fund where they sort of gather a group of stocks and they sort of do it for you, and you being in like the S&P 500 type of deal.
Exactly. I think that if stocks are appropriate for you, I think it is like, I don't think you need to pick individual stocks. I actually think that's like a losing game. And I think that in general, like if you look at all the research over the years, like stock pickers just don't do as well as like passive investors that buy things like ETFs, which just to clarify, ETFs are like a bundle of stocks that tend to share a theme. So ETFs are a bundle of stocks that share a theme. So you can have an ETF that represents an index, for instance. So like the S&P 500 that I mentioned, or like the NASDAQ index, which tends to lean more of tech stocks. Or you can have an ETF that represents something else completely, like all small companies, or all restaurant-related companies, or all like oil companies, for instance. So those need to be chosen carefully, but I do think that ETFs give you this natural diversification where you're not full only invested in like single companies. If one of those companies go under, like what I saw at Lehman Brothers, for instance, then your portfolio could go to zero, or it could go down. If it's only 20% if it's 20% of your portfolio, you can go down to zero on that 20%. And that's really dangerous, in my opinion.
What are like 5 common mistakes or myths that you see around money?
Oh, I love this question. The first one is that the stock market is like gambling. The stock market is not a casino. It is not like gambling. If you have a plan, if you go in and you buy a diversified portfolio and your plan is to hold it long-term, short-term it is like gambling. Don't ever invest short-term. As long as you have a long-term view, it is nothing like a casino. The more time you spend in the stock market, the tendency historically is that it will grow. The more time you spend in a casino, odds are against you. You will likely lose more and more money. That's why they keep you there for as long as they do. So that's my first misconception. Second is that I think there is this like thing around like hedge funds and like these more like complicated alternative investments, things like that. They're not that special. Right. You can get just as good of access to great investments at any like retail account as you can through these like sophisticated hedge funds. They're
like the traditional like S&P or like, mutual fund ETF investing. Doesn't it generally outperform those sort of more or those more nuanced? Like,
yeah, it's a very like blanket statement to make, but like, yes, in most situations, you'll see like if you look back historically, you'll see that like ETFs, ETFs are like just groups of like regular stocks have outperformed most hedge funds, most managed mutual funds. They tend to have better performance. So it's not always the case, but like often it is, and like I personally prefer those kinds of investments to like more complicated hedge fund type investments. So third biggest misconception is that you're not good with money. That's not true. You're not good with money. You just most people just haven't dealt with money. And that's why they believe that they're not good with it. That's like me saying I'm not good at like, I don't know, what's something that I do all the time?
Being the center fielder for the Yankees.
Yeah, exactly. Like, like maybe if I practiced and I had a great coach, like I could totally learn that skill. Right. This is a learned skill. Right. You can learn to invest and be good at investing with kind of very little guidance. Like it's not like a full education. Like it's actually not like being the center fielder.
With the internet and Google and YouTube.
Yeah.
And Roxy's TikTok channel.
Oh, yes. Take a look at my Instagram. And the fourth thing I think that is like really, really important is stop watching the news. CNBC, like all these like big like hedge fund managers that get on and give their information, Kramer, like they're all smart, they're all great. But the truth is that like what they're saying has nothing to do with you because they're talking about the markets in the short term. Like, I don't know why the banks come out every year with these like guesses of, oh, this is what's going to happen with the market in the next 6 months. Why are you trying to guess that? We have no idea what's going to happen in the market in the next 6 months. We have no idea what's going to happen in a year. What we know is that over time, 10 years plus, that there will very, very likely be substantial growth. But we don't know what's going to happen in the short term. Like, I always think about COVID. I always go back to COVID because it's like this, this big thing that happened in our lives and that like we didn't know about. And I think it's a metaphor for like all the other things that happen and just like this bigger metaphor of all the other things that happen. And that's that COVID happened. We thought, okay, this isn't such a big deal. Then we thought, oh my God, this is a really big deal. Then the stock market crashed. It was down like 18%. Unemployment went through the roof. And then 3 months later, we're like at new highs again, right. And the market had recovered like so much. And anybody that sat there and listened to the news was saying like, "Oh, this is the end. Like, the stock market's going to end, and we're like, we're all going to go to zero, and all your investments are sell now." If you sold at that time when things were bad, you lost out on so much potential recovery.
I think about every time something brutal is happening in the world and it's doom and gloom and the world's going over, I think of the chart that you either posted or showed me, and you're just like, you showed every like major brutal like world event and what the stock market did after 9/11, after World War II, after all this stuff. And I was like, okay,
I love that.
Let me be resilient in the market.
Yeah, I want to remind you guys that like most of the time, like we're reaching like close to new highs all the time. So even when we're having like a big pullback, even like a 20% pullback, like earlier this year during tariff time, the market pulled back like 16%. It was horrible. But like we were still nearing all-time highs. Like if you'd been invested for a couple of years, you were still up. Like you weren't in the red at that point.
Yeah.
So yes, we go through these blips. Market pullbacks are normal. That's actually going to be my number 5 thing, is that market pullbacks are normal and they're part of like a healthy, normal market. So on average, like every other year, the market pulls back at least 15% at some point, except that 75% of years historically have been up. So like this is very like a market pulling back does not mean that you're going to have a down year. And it definitely does not mean that you're going to have a down few years.
I mean, that's just like a great analogy for life. Challenging moments are going to happen and you're resilient and you stay in the game. What are you passionate about right now, whether it be America or world finances? Like what is like something that you find yourself maybe like just thinking about more than ever right now?
More than ever, I'm thinking about like, drop your ego. You don't know anything about what's going to happen. All you know, like we have to just go with what we know. And like all we know is that the US economy is growing and innovating and creating products and creating services that people need and use and spend money on. And that's like kind of like, you need to think about that. Like, that's all I know. I don't know what's going to happen with interest rates in like a few weeks when the Fed meets, or it's next week, actually. I don't know what's going to happen with Trump tariffs. I don't know what's going to happen with inflation. Like we don't know. Things always go in directions that you don't expect. But I do know right now that like people are buying and people are selling and like there are things being done in the economy that is healthy and that is growing. And so, yes, if things pull back in the next few months, I could deal with that. But like not having this ego to say like, I know the answer, not listening to somebody that has the ego to say, I know the answer. You don't know the answer. They don't know the answer.
Any other golden nuggets? Because you've given a lot that you just haven't talked about that just, again, is on like on the tip of your tongue that you're just passionate about right now, that you see maybe people have a misunderstanding about, or just that you want the world to know about finances? No.
You could do this.
Okay.
You're good. Like, just get started. Take the first step. Open up an investment account. Put $50 in there. Invest it. See what happens. Like, be open to it. This is the only, like, the truth is that like income kind of goes like this and capital goes like this. We were talking about this at dinner the other night, actually. And the only way that you're going to get to where you need to be financially or where you want to be financially is if you're doing more than just your job.
Love it.
Don't be scared.
Even if you're not at the threshold of being a client of yours, how can we get access to your information, your knowledge? Where do we find you?
Sure. Find me on Instagram. It's just Roxana.Maddahi.
How do we find that? Sorry, not how we find that. What about TikTok?
Oh, or you can find me on TikTok, but like I don't post as much on TikTok. I post more on Instagram.
Why?
I don't know. I like my Instagram community. Like I feel like there's like nice like banter on there. There are good comments. There are a lot of people that care. Like I feel like I found like my space on Instagram.
Love it. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Anything else you want to say that or like clarify or anything like that? We can pause and just whatever, just before I give the go.
No, I'm good.
Okay, amazing. Roxy, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I can never repay you, but I will try. And we appreciate you so much. Thank you for watching and listening. Rep the Worker, and we'll see you next time.
Rep the worker. Yeah, we rise up, never back down. Yeah, when the pressure hits, Smith Law's always on the battleground.